Yo, what's up? It's Messiah122 here. I thought I would put out a video on my opinion on Diablo 4 as it stands. I see a lot of content creators kind of putting out their opinions and just their overall feel of the in-game and just the systems as a whole. So I figured I'd come in here and just kind of make a quick video and discussion on my feelings and thoughts on the game. As you can see, I'm a level 91 Barbarian. I've played through a lot of the stuff. I have not done level 100 Lilith Uber Challenge. I have not done a 100 Nightmare Dungeon. That's the last things I feel like I need to do. We're gonna get right into it. We're just gonna talk. One of my biggest gripes that I have in the game right now is the stats. I think it's a little ridiculous how they are having, like, a barbarian should have technically the 4 all reduction for their pants is a massive hole. This seems really redundant and really stupid to me, having damage reduction, but then damage reduction while fortified, damage reduction with close enemies, damage reduction from far enemies, bleeding, and blah, 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 blah. Like, to me, this is stupid. Less is more, Blizzard. We don't need 30 million variations of fucking damage reduction. You could literally pile this all into one and just make it flat fucking damage reduction and penalize some for maybe building them off of your base stat or something. You get more for having strength, you get more close enemies damage reduction or something. There could be a better version of this. This is stupid to me and I absolutely hate it. The next one is the damage to close enemies, damage to far enemies, vulnerable, overpower, all this other shit. Again, less is more, Blizzard. You know, you feel that you're targeting the casual audience, and I can say I have a lot of friends who are in their 30s to 40s who play this game with kids and full-time jobs, including myself, and as a casual player myself, the stats are fucking overwhelming and just too much. I'm following build guides, and I know a couple other people are too, but then as a player who doesn't want to follow build guides, gets completely lost and overwhelmed by these ridiculous, oh my god, there's 30 variations of this and that, and it's just stupid. Damage while bleeding, damage while fire, and all this other shit. I feel like it's just too much. I mean, and even all the other games, you know, damage, blood damage, fire damage, all these other damage rolls came from the weapon itself. I feel like I'd love to see that go back. I don't think it should be a stat that we can just put on to armor and gear. It should be on the physical items itself. This axe, or this cudgel, whatever you want to call this here, had poison damage on it. Or this sword had bleed damage on it. I want that. I hate that we don't have that. And the stats is just, it's too overwhelming. Again, Blizzard, less is more. I'd love to see you guys work on this. My next gripe is the inventory. It's super small. It's pretty ridiculous. We already know that. I don't really feel like I need to get too heavy into that. Everybody's already talked about this. The consumables tab. To me, this is really stupid to have this. This is just chaotic. These potions maybe can be in this consumables thing. The nightmare dungeon keys kind of seem stupid to me, especially if you have the same built like one. Say I have 15 fucking serpent slayers, and they're all 52, but they have different variations on them. I should be able to still stack them and it just tell me the different variations on them, or maybe even just give them their own tab. To me, this is just ridiculous. The elixir system, absolutely love this. This is super cool and I'm having a blast with it, but the one gripe and one thing I absolutely hate is we can craft them, but we can't dismantle them. You're going to give us an entire crafting system for them and tell us everything we need to get and stuff to get them, but then we end up with potions that we pick up off of bosses and dungeons that are completely useless, and then what do we do with them? We just throw them away. They don't have a gold value. They don't really have a value, and so then people just don't pick them up, and if that's just how it is, then people shouldn't exist in the game. I feel like they need to just make it to where we can dismantle them or salvage them for regens. Maybe not at the exact amount as it took to create them. Maybe, you know, penalize the people a little bit. That's not a big deal. But I would just love to see a crafting system upgrade to being able to dismantle and build these up. Quest items, I don't really mind. This is kind of whatever. It's not a big deal. The aspects, I think, is whatever. I feel like maybe we should be able to hold more of these. And again, if we have similar, maybe they should stack. I don't know. That's not a big deal to me. Moving on to my next one is we've got this. We've got 115 dungeons with only 5 fucking variations. This drives me crazy. I don't like this system at all. I think this is really stupid to have so many dungeon variations, but or sorry, not so many dungeon variations, but so many dungeons themselves, but little variation to them. If this is going to be a system to go into the seasons to come to the future, there is zero incentive for the player to want to go in and do Path of the Blind 70 times. If Path of the Blind is literally the same, go in, you're going to go free prisoners, and then you're going to go to the next spot, and you're going to go find these cubes, and then you're going to kill the boss. It is predictable, it is boring, it is ridiculous. I'm a massive Diablo 2 player, and all I did was spawn and kill specific bosses and farm them and stuff, and that was, very repetitive and very boring. This is the future, and I would love to see more. I feel like you guys did an absolute amazing job on creating the variations of the dungeons and giving us a huge quality of 115 of them, but I feel like it's very lackluster that you're only going to give us 5 variations to each dungeon. That needs to get fixed, because especially if this is going to be a system that's not going to refresh into our renown for each season, I'm going to tell you right now, in season 7, people are going to be fucking over this. No one is going to come back in here and do these again. No one. No one's going to want to keep repeating them. And it's just not worth it at that point. And to move on to my next point with dungeons is nightmare dungeons. You're going to give us a title of a nightmare dungeon. That's a frightening, scary, and strong sounding thing. And nightmare dungeons are one of the most underwhelming and ridiculous systems I feel like in this game. It's the Greater Rift system. I'm sorry to fucking tell you, Blizzard, but it is. It's a perfected version of the Greater Rift system, and I like that. But I just, again, with the variations, I'm going into Onyx Hold knowing that I already ran a regular Onyx Hold hours ago, knowing that it's going to be the exact same thing, but nightmare. So the mobs are just stronger. What does that do? I want to see a nightmare dungeon be fucking hard. I know that it has debuffs and buffs. I want to feel those debuffs and those buffs. I want to feel the progression of that number of the nightmare dungeon change. If I'm gonna hit a freaking 60, I want it to feel different than a 10, and it does not feel different. The only thing that feels different is I can one-shot mobs because they're 20 levels below me, and I can't one-shot them because they're 20 levels above me. That's not nightmarish. That's not scary. That's not strong. There's no fun there. I want it to be hard. Path of Exile does an amazing job on their dungeon system, where you get crazy keys with debuffs and you go into that dungeon, and it could have been the same dungeon you did earlier, but it feels completely different. It looks completely different, and it is just way better. 115 dungeons, 5 fucking variations, and no one wants to do the events. The events are awful. Again, I feel like you are not building enough incentive for the player to want to repeat these things. If this is going to be the coming system and what we get to see constantly throughout the seasons, no one is going to do this by season 7. No one's going to want to farm these. No one's going to want to go get all the dungeons. No one's going to really want to do nightmare dungeons. We need to see more variations. We need to feel the nightmarish dungeon affixes. We need it. We need it. And if we're going to keep going this way, more strongholds, more Legion events. There is a fucking massive map here. And if this is the plan, if this is the plan to do this entire world map, because this is all we've got for Diablo 4, and if you go to the bottom and you can see that, look, there's gonna be more, and you can see on the actual map that it's gonna be there. If we're gonna get more, you need to add more variation. These Legion events are fun, but there's one Legion event throughout this whole fucking thing. We have like 1,000 side quests, but we have one Legion event. We have 5 dungeon variations. We have nothing with the nightmare dungeons. Come on, Blizzard. You guys are focusing on the wrong points, I feel like, and it is just blowing me away. I love what you guys are doing. This game has an amazing direction, and I'm very excited to continue to play it and build with the community and just see it as it grows as a whole. But I would love to see Blizzard actually listen and actually give us the game that we're asking for. This is a beautiful platform, and it is very fun. Don't get me wrong, I'm having a blast, but I don't like a lot of this stuff. I just wish they would listen and they would fix some of this stuff because it's not very fun at the end game. It needs to be worked on and they need to get going on it soon. Thank you guys. This is just my opinion. Like I said, you can agree or disagree. If I missed anything, hit me up in the comments. I'd love to see what everybody else has to say.